welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to work on my new dendrobium speciosum. You know that I have recently purchased this orchid from Orchids and More from Germany. This is supposed to be a 1 year from flowering size, but the orchid already has little sheets inside the suitables. So I really think that next spring, if given the right care, this orchid is ready to bloom. I have seen many pictures with this orchid and she can get absolutely huge. This orchid does need a winter rest, so I will make sure I will give her that, but till then she needs quite a lot of moisture and nutrients to grow on. Now I see she is potted in bark chips with quite a lot of perlite, but that is okay. I know this orchid likes quite a lot to grow on cliffs in nature, on rocks, so she does likes her calcium and also her aeration to the roots. So yeah, the medium is already rather moist. I watered this orchid yesterday. And I have decided to repot her even though she does not have any active new growth, because this cane, which is the newest growth, has growing root tips. I hope you are able to see them here at the base. And more inside, even the old roots are starting to branch, so I thought this is a good time to repot it. I will try to be as gently as I can with the roots, but usually when you are trying to repot an orchid which is rather pot bound, which has a lot of roots, that can be a bit difficult, because whether you like it or not, you are going to break a few roots. But this orchid is quite known for branching out her roots, so I'm not worried. We are into the growing season. The orchids do grow quite a lot in this time of the year, so yeah, I will try to gently remove one piece at a time and see what we find along. I know Rachel likes a lot this orchid, and she definitely has reasons for. This orchid is known to be very fragrant, and she is most probably the orchid which produces the biggest shows, because she does get very huge, very big actually. It is a huge orchid when it gets to specimen size, let's say, and people usually transport it in a truck and put it in the back of the truck, and they are going with it on shows, and they are making amazing displays. I know also Ed from Ed's Orchids has one. I think he has managed to finally rebloom it last year, after he gave it quite a harsh winter rest. He put it in a greenhouse where the temperatures got down to 0 Celsius, I think. And it seems that the cold snap did pay off, so I will make sure this orchid will stay outdoors until we will reach freezing temperatures in the nighttime, and then hopefully she will bloom for me. I was expecting to receive a much smaller orchid, because what can I say, she was supposed to be a 1 year from flowering size, and I have seen on other orchid nurseries which posted a real picture with the orchid, and the orchid was this tiny, and it was supposed to be 1 year from flowering size, and this doesn't really look like that. But I am, you can imagine, I'm very happy with what I got. So yeah, I am really looking forward into seeing this orchid in bloom, because as I said, I'm quite curious about her fragrance. People are raving about her fragrance, and I do remember I have seen it in bloom at a London Orchid show about 3 years ago, I think. But to be quite honest, I really don't remember her fragrance, so we will see. Of course, as usual, we don't really have very good roots in the middle of the pot, let's say, in the middle of the root ball, and this is because in the middle we have the plug from which from when the orchid was a seedling, and then she was put into a bigger pot, and of course the roots grew only next to the pot. They really like the air and the light, and I think they do that also to feel quite snugged in and secure. So yeah, it is quite an interesting orchid. Her pseudobulbs are quite interesting. They do have quite a few ridges, natural ridges, and I will try to clean the sheets a bit. We can see that mine has been bite by a slug when it was growing. That was before I actually received the orchid. So yeah, I think I will actually go to the sink and shower a bit the root system, because I do feel that some of them, some of the pieces of bark are a bit too dry. This orchid is quite a drinker, so I watered her yesterday, and today she is already starting to dry, so I will water her again, and hopefully then the roots will be more flexible. And yes, the medium is quite badly decomposed. It does smell a bit, so it was a very good time to repot this orchid. She does seem to have quite a few root tips. A lot of roots are branching out, and of course I will damage a few, but as I said, she is one of those orchids for which if you have any piece of a root, you can be sure that it will survive, because she will make sure she will branch out like crazy, pretty much. So yeah. These roots do seem to like to grow into every single crevice. Look how I broke a root tip, but I cannot do anything about. I cannot do anything about this. So yeah. She does have some dead roots inside the root ball, so I will have to cut those ones out. Once I will have less medium around. So I can see actually what I will cut. Let me know in the comment section below if any of you are having this orchid, and say me down below if you ever bloomed it, how do you care for it, how and especially how does she smell like. I'm really curious about that. How down you went with the winter rest, or how what was the lowest temperature you supposed the orchid. I'm really curious to hear all these things out. She is, I think this is a division of some sort. She has a rather weird habit of growing, and here I have a pseudobulb which does seem to have a cut in the supposedly rhizome, but I'm not even sure if it is attached anymore. And I have at the base some pseudobulbs, which I will remove because they would get buried inside the medium and we don't want that. And if I made a wound in the rhizome, of course I will check for fusarium. And nope, this orchid seems to be perfectly healthy. I do hope my camera does focus. Let's try this. So there is no fusarium. If you really want to propagate this orchid, you can propagate it even through the smallest back bulbs. I do know quite a few people who have made an entire orchid collection only from back bulbs from friends, and that is pretty cool because once you get to see the orchid growing and you get excited by every single leaf, root and pseudobulb that is growing, but secondly you don't pay for a thing, or at least I hope that nobody is thinking to sell a back bulb because that wouldn't be pretty nice. But anyway, so that is a great way to increase your orchid collection if you have a friend which has pretty rare orchids and you want to start your own collection, let's say. That is a great way to increase your orchid collection for free. And people will be more likely to give you one pseudobulb than a big division, because it's not like they don't want to, but sometimes the orchid is not big enough to be divided. Of course, if you are trying to propagate an orchid through a back bulb, that will prove to be a bit more difficult. The orchid will take quite a lot of time before she will bloom, about 3 years I suppose, but some of us do have more patience than others. So I almost have no more medium. Almost, of course. And now I will start to cut the dead roots. So let's see. Here inside I have the roots from when the orchid was a seedling, and I will just cut them all because they really don't help my orchid a lot at this point. She does have quite a few roots and I can feel them. They are mushy, and if I gently pull away, it will remain a string behind. So those roots are certainly dead. This can go as well. With these orchids which have this nature of branching, you pretty much always want to make sure you are leaving 2, 3, 4 centimeters of roots at the base, because quite often that part is alive and can branch out. So this is what I will do. I won't cut what I think is dead from the base, but I will let a piece, so if the orchid wants to branch, we'll have room for that. I do think that here I do have some more medium. Of course, this orchid needs to be showered again. Alrighty guys. So I even have seen people repotting this orchid when it was quite a specimen, using an axe, and that is how they have divided it, and that is how they have separated a piece of the division with roots with an axe. They didn't managed, let's say, every single root, because they know this orchid is very hard. It's very hard to kill actually. You always want to make sure when you have an orchid which does produce this many sheets, and mostly with any type of sheet, which is dead of course, you really want to make sure that you remove it. And this is because they can harbor pests. And for example, Roger from Roger Orchids, I do remember he had quite a few problems with scale and mealybugs, and they did hide into every single sheet and crevice and everywhere basically where they found a spot. So it is best to have the orchid as clean as possible. So when you do apply an insecticide, it does make its job. So now what I will do, I will spray the orchid with hydrogen peroxide 3%, and this will kill any possible snail. You need to make sure you spray even in between the suitables, because snails can hide in there, and look at what a wound slug did. So yeah, this will do its job very well. By the way, today I have done a whole collection treatment for insects and especially for mites. I used a palm sprayer with some mealback knock, I think was its name, and I did spray my whole collection with it, and I'm sure that that really kills any type of orchid pest. So in about 7 days, this is a systemic insecticide, so in about 7 days any insect that was on my orchids will be completely dead, their eggs as well. So yeah, that is how I care for my collection. I do not have usually pests inside my collection, but I do 2 times a year a whole collection treatment, because it is better to prevent things than to be sorry afterwards. So that is what I like to do. If you don't like insecticides, you just don't use it. I do have here one more suitable, which I will remove. Yeah, this orchid is pretty much full of ice, and yeah, now I will let it freeze for a few minutes, time in which I will clean my working space. Okay, so now we are ready to pot the orchid. Of course, she will go into semi-hydro, and here I have quite a generous reservoir. You can see how tall the holes are, and how tall the reservoir is. I think it has about 10 centimeters in height, and I'm doing this because I know this orchid absolutely loves moisture when she is in the growing season. So I want to make sure she won't put me to water her too often. In the summertime, my orchids that are outdoors are watered once every 3 to 4 days, I think, and the ones indoors 4 to 5 days. And in the winter time, of course, every single orchid is inside the house, so I'm watering all of them once a week. So we are. I pretty much filled the reservoir with water. I usually try to avoid putting the roots inside the reservoir, because these roots are used to dry off in between watering, and if you try to put them directly in the reservoir, some of them might die faster than they would you would put them above the reservoir. So that is what I will do. I will now try to put a medium in the back part of the orchid, because here usually you get quite a lot of air pockets and you don't want more air than in between every single pebble. You don't want not big air pockets, let's say. So I'm putting some pebbles in here. You can always adjust the height of the orchid as you go, if you want the orchid to sit taller or deeper inside the pot. You really want to make sure that the pebbles will go in between the roots. I never press on the pebbles because they are quite hard, and if you press on them you will damage the roots. So this is what I am doing. Sometimes I do like to squeeze a bit the pot too. So if any air pockets have remained, now the pebbles have a chance to fill it up. I'm trying to put the orchid to stay upwards, like this, because she will grow quite a lot more suitables. Alrighty guys, this has been quite an interesting repotting. This is the first time, of course, I am seeing this orchid here. I still have a dead root. So yeah, you need to make sure you also sterilize your tag, just in case you have any snail eggs on it. And yeah, this is pretty much all. Now I will go to the sink, water the orchid, and this orchid will stay outdoors in direct sunlight until we will have freezing temperatures and she will come back inside. I will try to do in the next days some care tutorials for Oncidium orchids, for Dendrobium orchids, especially I mean for Dendrobium nobile orchids, but I will also talk about Dendrobium phalaenopsis. In case I didn't done that already, I really don't remember. And if you have any ideas for other videos, please leave them in the comment section below. I am really curious to hear them out. So alright guys, if you have liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Thank you very much for watching and see you all next time. Bye!